So you enjoy watching Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, maybe a little bit of rallying, Le Mans, and all of that. What if I told you we could have a little bit of that action that could be as serious or as casual as you wanted? Welcome to Sim Racing. Today we're going to have a look at some ways you can get into sim racing that includes games, equipment, and even where to play online. So stick around. So let's start with rallying, and with that we're going to start with the title that is considered probably to be the best. Richard Burns Rally is still to this day unbeatable. The physics are extremely hardcore but incredibly fun. The game is in abandonware state, so you can't really buy it anywhere and you'll have to search for it, but thanks to the community it's being kept alive with car mods, new physics and more. But if you want something that is easier to buy and to get into, then there's a couple of options. The first one is the venerated Dirt Rally 1 and 2. They are some of the best rallying games ever. It has VR support. They are excellent to get into and to drive with plenty of rallying areas. The newest kid on the block is EA Sports WRC. It hasn't been so well received, but I found it to be a lot of fun, even if at times the performance isn't the best. The great thing about all of these rallying titles is that they give you so much of the rally vibe. The stages can be short if you want to, but some stages can be well over 10 minutes, with fully voiced stages as well. Therefore, they are always plenty of fun. Formula One has a series of its own with yearly releases covering each season. It's more of a casual game with a very competitive scene. You can play it with the persistent career modes, story modes, one season championship, or go online to race. It is a very casual title, so I'm going to mention another two that are basically staples in sim racing titles or racing titles that, even though many don't consider them to be sim racing titles, they are the start point for many drivers. The first one is Gran Turismo 7 in the PlayStation 4 and 5. It has some of the magic of the older ones, with lots of collectible cars and challenges, tuning, and a few recognizable tracks. The other one is Forza in the PlayStation. It follows the same format, more or less, but with a different flair. Both of these will have agreeable handling with all the basics correctly done. Now to something more serious. iRacing is probably the biggest sim racing name right now, with a huge player base and competitive scene. If you are a fan of ovals, iRacing has trucks, stock cars, and of many types. It has dirt ovals, Indy cars, and even WRXs. If you are into sports cars, you are that kind of person just like myself. It has cars from IMSA's championships, the WeatherTech, and sports car. So you can race GTPs, LMP2s, GT3s, or even the TCR series. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg. iRacing has so much more types of content like formulas, radicals very similar to what we drive at Racing Prodigy, MX-5s, and so on. iRacing, therefore, is not for casual racing. It is a competitive system with lots of competitive people, so if you want serious competition, this is the platform for you. More into the sports cars category, but centering itself in the GT3s, is Assetto Corsa Competizione, a game featuring meticulously recreated cars and tracks from the real-world GT3 Championship. It is an incredible focus title into GT racing. The title follows the SRO GT Championship, so it will have GT2s, TCXs, GT4, Porsche Cups, and of course GT3s, which is probably the most popular racing class in all sims thus far. It has some single player, but the bulk of action will be online. The track roster is pretty good, though not complete for their championship, and just recently they added the Nordschleife 24 hours. This version of Nordschleife probably is the best one right now. And you can't really talk about sim racing nowadays without talking about the older Assetto Corsa. One of the most popular sim racing titles, it is the modding paradise that covers pretty much everything in terms of racing. You can race classic Formula 1 since the 60s, it has also Ayrton Senna's a Lotus car, it has hot hatches, GT cars with the regular content, but modding opens so much more to a state where if you wanted to go on a cruise or do a downhill racing, you can do that. If you want to recreate something, there's likely a mod for you. Even if it's an older title, the amount of content and people playing it surely makes up for it, and it's really not that expensive to pick up. There are also other titles worth mentioning, like Automobilista 2, a game with a variety of content, R-Factor 2, Le Mans Ultimate, which was very recently released and follows the WEC Championships and will have Le Mans as well. BMG, I think it's worth a mention because even though it's more of a physics playground, it has so much to do. You can do some racing, you can do off-roading, you can do Baja blasting, and even rallying, and there's also a huge community that does modding behind it, so it's a really cool game to get into. And of course, if you want trucking, there's also Truck Simulator, even though it's not really sim racing, but it is simulation. Right, these are the games, but how to play these titles? Well, this is where it can get confusing. Most of the titles that I've mentioned here are centered around the PC. Forza and Gran Turismo can be played in the consoles, so can be both Assetto Corsas, but these two are really not optimal to play in the consoles. You do need to get a PC. You'll of course want to race. Most of these titles will have a single player component, but if you want to race online, the best platform right now is iRacing. It has plenty of championships of all types. But online racing is not exclusive to iRacing, but Assetto Corsas will have online races either through the browser or through low-field motorsports on the PC. Raceroom and Le Mans Ultimate will also have a dedicated online matchmaking system inside of the game itself. But fear not, if you feel the multiplayer is too much, there's too much stress, and you want to learn at your own pace, the single player of most of these titles is enough to give you plenty of thrills. Most of these titles have enough tracks and cars of many types and many generations to keep you busy for a long time. These are the games, but how about how to play these titles? Well, this is where it can get confusing. While I have a sim rig like this at home, it is unlikely you'll want to pursue the hobby like this, at least when you're starting sim racing. Sim racing titles can be played with a regular controller, though there are better ways to enjoy this hobby. For that, you will definitely need a steering wheel, but fortunately there's a huge choice in the market where you can get a decent kit to start and clamped to a desk for around $200. There's plenty of choices that won't break your bank. Make sure you get something with force feedback, and it's from a well-known brand. YouTube has a wealth of reviews and buyer's guides that follow pretty much every single piece of equipment with in-depth presentations of each choice, each advantage and each disadvantage. But of course, sim racing as any hobby can spiral out of control if you are not careful. This hobby is amazing, and it is also the starting point of our sim racing prodigy drivers. Anybody can pick it up and have some fun with it. And have you tried sim racing? Let us know below.